Hello, guys. Welcome back to Summer Talks. I'm Agatha, and today we are talking about something we all face, but we don't always understand. These are negative emotions. So-called negative emotions, because in fact, we should rather call them difficult emotions. Fear, anger, sadness, guilt, and so many others, these feelings are often seen as enemies of happiness because we are told to stay positive, to shake it all off. But what if these emotions aren't just mistakes or signs of weakness, but powerful signals? What if these signals are given by your body and mind in order to listen to them? Because if you do that, they can guide you toward growth, connection, and resilience. In today's episode, I'll break down what negative emotions actually do to your brain and body, why they appear, and most importantly, how to integrate them and accept them instead of fighting them. Because the truth is, resisting emotions only makes them louder and stronger. So the key to handle negative emotions is simply to accept them and learn how to interpret them. If you're ready, let's start. Firstly, what negative emotions do to the brain? This is the science part. When you feel a strong emotion, let's say anger, the first part of your brain that lights up is the amygdala. Think of the amygdala as your alarm system. It scans your environment all the time, looking for potential threats. When it perceives danger, it becomes activated. Then it triggers your stress response, like adrenaline surges or cortisol rises. Your heart rate also speeds up. Your muscles get tense, and all these reactions prove that your body is preparing you to either fight, run, or freeze. At the same time, your prefrontal cortex, so the rational, logical part of your brain, takes rather a back seat. You know that moment when you say something in anger and then regret it just 5 minutes later? Yeah, it happens very often, and that's because your prefrontal cortex was basically muted by the amygdala. The interesting point of view is that it isn't a malfunction, it's survival. The brain is prioritizing speed over accuracy. In other words, it's better to overreact to a false alarm than underreact to a real danger. And it's not just about anger. Fear works the same way. Sadness, on the other hand, slows down the nervous system. When you are sad, your energy drops and your motivation shrinks. That may feel very uncomfortable, but biologically, it gives you the time to reflect, to withdraw temporarily, and also conserve the resources until you can bounce back. So every negative emotion changes your brain and body chemistry in a very specific way, but it's always meaningful. It always has some aim beneath. Because those feelings are not just random signals, but they are some patterns with a certain purpose. The bigger picture is, why do we even have these emotions? There are some perspectives that I want to share with you. Firstly, an evolutionary perspective. Those feelings were essential for survival. Fear kept our ancestors from walking into the lion's den, for example. Anger helped them fight off threats or protect their territory, while disgust kept them from eating unfresh food. Guilt and shame helped us live in groups because if you wronged someone, that uncomfortable feeling pushed you to make it right, ensuring cooperation and survival. Another perspective is the social one. From this perspective, emotions are signals to others. For example, when you cry, it shows vulnerability, which often invites comfort and support. When you express anger, it signals boundaries. When you show guilt, It communicates that you value the relationship enough to repair it. The problem is, in the modern world, our survival wiring is often simply unnecessary and exaggerated. Instead of lions, the threats today are deadlines, emails, discomfort, and so on. Instead of actual physical dangers, it's more about social conflicts, rejections, self-sabotage, and our thoughts. Our brains haven't really evolved as quickly as our society has. So then these negative emotions often feel way bigger than the situation really is. But that doesn't mean they are meaningless. They're just very often misunderstood or misinterpreted. The real meaning of negative emotions is they tell us something is wrong. They are signals, guidelines on our way towards peace and happiness. They show you when you should stop, change something. You should rather investigate those kind of emotions, try to understand why they are coming, what they want to communicate to you, where do they come from, which thought in your mind provoked those feelings. And this leads us to another question: how we usually deal with negative emotions. Most of us don't deal with emotions directly. We either suppress them or we get consumed, overwhelmed by them. Suppressing looks like, I'm fine, everything is fine, even when you are not. The problem is, emotions that are pushed down don't disappear. They leak out later through stress, burnout, physical symptoms, and so many others. On the other hand, getting consumed by emotions means letting the emotion drive your mind, your body. You are angry, so you start yelling. You are anxious, you start avoiding many things. This is not really integration. The middle path is awareness and acceptance, letting emotions exist without letting them take over you. So how to do that? How to integrate and accept negative emotions? Integration doesn't necessarily mean you like those emotions. It means you just make space for them. You listen to what they are trying to tell you. Here are a few ways to do it. Firstly, name them. Identify them. Simply putting your emotion into words like, I'm feeling anxious, I notice sadness, and so on. It already reduces activity in the amygdala and activates the prefrontal cortex. Many research show this alone helps calm the nervous system. So remember to firstly name and identify the emotion that you're struggling with. Secondly, breathing. Just pause and breathe. Emotions very often create this sensation of urgency, but most situations in our life don't require an immediate reaction. So taking even 3-5 slow breaths gives your prefrontal cortex some time to come back so you can respond, not just react spontaneously. The third way is to be curious instead of judging. What does it mean? For example, instead of saying, oh, I shouldn't feel this way, try to ask yourself, why is this here? What is this emotion pointing to? What is it telling to me? Anger might point to crossed boundaries. Guilt might point to a value that you care about. Fear might point to something meaningful that you don't want to lose. So always try to investigate emotions instead of identifying yourself with them. Fourth, body awareness. Emotions live actually in our bodies. They are seen and felt within our body. For example, a tight chest in your throat, clenched fist. When you notice and allow those sensations instead of resisting them, you help the emotion move through you. instead of getting stuck within you. Why does it matter? Because it's all about our energy. Emotions are energy. And if it's stuck in your body, it takes your power away. You need to let those emotions flow as you need to let the energy flow within you. The fifth and my last recommendation of integrating and accepting negative emotions is expressing them. Expressing and releasing. Of course, expression isn't the same as explosion. So it doesn't mean that you should explode with your emotions. You could, for example, do some journaling, talk it out with a trusted friend, maybe going for a run for some people, or even shaking your body for a few minutes. All these things, all these practices are ways to express and release your emotions. Motion helps process emotion as well, so sports are found as very useful tools very often. And to sum this part up, remember that acceptance doesn't mean indulgence. It doesn't mean you let anger control you, or your sadness, or your fear. It means you acknowledge all of them. You give them space, and you respond to them with awareness. This is the best way to integrate such difficult emotions within you. So now I would like to suggest you to listen to this short reflection, to pause for a while and imagine this scenario. If you are not driving, of course, close your eyes for a moment. Take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Now think about a recent moment when you felt a very strong negative emotion. Maybe stress, frustration, fear, or sadness. Where do you feel it in your body right now, even as you remember it? In which part of your body? Is it rather in your chest, your stomach, your throat? Now, can you name it? For example, this is anger, this is fear. Try to identify this emotion. And now, instead of pushing it away or feeding it with your thoughts, just notice this emotion. Imagine you were literally sitting next to it, like sitting next to a friend. Imagine you are having a conversation with this friend, with this emotion. Ask it, what do you want me to know? Why did you come to me? You might not get an answer right away, but that's okay. The important part is making space to listen, is opening this dialogue with your emotions. Now take another deep breath, and when you are ready, bring yourself back and open your eyes. So today we talked about what negative emotions do to our brain, why do they exist, how we usually deal with them, and what are the best ways to integrate and accept those kinds of feelings. Negative emotions aren't flaws or weaknesses. They are natural survival tools. They are messengers and guides. In your brain, they set off alarms. They shift your body chemistry and they prepare you to act. In your life, they signal boundaries, values, and needs. The goal isn't to get rid of them, but rather to integrate them, to name them, breathe for them, get curious about them, investigate them, and express them in a healthy way so that you feel released. Even this week, I invite you to try a very simple practice. Once a day, when any negative emotion or a difficult emotion arises within you, Just pause and name it. That's the first step. You say, this is anxiety, this is anger, this is frustration. Notice how even that small act changes your relationship with it. And always remember that emotions, any kind of emotions, they aren't your enemies, but they are a part of your intelligence, a deeper wisdom of your body and your mind. And your role is not to reject them, but to accept them and learn from them. Hear what they are talking about. Hear what they are telling you. Thank you for joining me today on Summer Talks. If this episode resonated with you, of course, share it with a friend who might need such a reminder. And as always, I would love to hear your reflections. You can find me on Instagram, Summer Talks Podcast. I hope you liked it. I hope you resonated with it. And I hope you got a bit inspired with this episode, because that's the point of every episode of Summer Talks. So take care of yourselves, and until next time. Summer Talks, Agata teraz.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.